Hello? Is the world listening? I think the world is listening. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, May 2nd. It's actually May 2nd of Friday, but it's actually May 3 here in Australia. So it's a Saturday morning for me, but it's a Friday night for you. And specifically, it's a Friday night for my guest, Mr. NeddKnight. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ned. So welcome to this impromptu live chat, as we always seem to do. One day we'll schedule these properly. But in the meantime, this is more fun. However, we do have a slight agenda to talk to tonight. Last time we gave each other homework. Do you remember?
I do.
And what did you give me to watch?
So this was a movie that came across my doormat about 1.5 years ago. And I've been dying for someone else to watch it. And so when you invited me to the first show, I said, okay, well, we're going to give each other an assignment because this is going to be my opportunity to get someone else to watch this and tell me what they think. And I gave you Day of the Beast, which is a Spanish movie from 1995.
That is correct. And I finally got around to watching it a couple of days ago. In return, I gave you a 2014 Chinese horror thriller called Haunted Road. And there's a very particular reason that I gave you this movie. Now, I'm not sure that you will like it for the same reason that I did. But anyway, we will discuss that later in the show. I think we'll start off with Day of the Beast, to be honest. And then in between our two chats, we'll have a look at a little trailer that I've prepared. And I believe you've got something else scheduled for me later on as well. So we've got an action-packed 55 minutes. Let's get cracking. The first thing we're going to look at, not that good-looking logo, is... Let me get this done correctly. Oh, just... Boomers. This is what happens when boomers take over live streams. Here we go. Day of the Beast. 1995 Spanish black comedy. Do you want to give the synopsis or do you want me to do it?
You have it up there. You watched it probably most recently, although I did watch it again for a second time when I gave it to you.
Okay. That means you'll have to do the synopsis for Haunted Road.
I have it ready.
So Day of the Beast. From my summary of the film, it is about a priest who discovers that there seems to be some kind of secret message from the devil in all of his research that he's been doing. And what he decides to do is cause as much chaos as possible on Christmas Eve because he believes that a child will be born, the Antichrist will be born, that verifies all of the research that he's done. And what he does is he teams up with this very eclectic record store worker, and together they kind of kidnap a psychic who does a TV show. And the three of them go about trying to prove that this research that the priest done is correct and that the Antichrist will be born that night. How did I go?
Perfect.
Okay. I'm going to be really honest with you and say I didn't like the film. I really didn't like it. And I can't quite put my finger on why I didn't like it. I think it was just a little bit too far-fetched for me. And that sounds really weird, doesn't it? Me to say something sounds far-fetched. Maybe it's not the far-fetched bit. I just don't know. Nothing clicked with me on this one. So I want to know why you liked it so much. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to change my mind and see perhaps if you can make me like it, because I believe there were elements that I could like in this film.
Okay. So there are two reasons that I love the movie, and they were both with Maria Grazia Cucinato. And I thought She had an excellent little bit part in the movie. But if I'm being a little bit cute, of course. But I did appreciate her appearance in there as the maiden whose blood they could not use because the psychic attested that she was definitively not a virgin. I and I think why I like this movie is it fits under my primary criteria for what I appreciate about a movie and what I'll classify as being solid. Number one, is it authentic? Meaning, does the movie know what it is? And this movie tells you what it is in the first 4 minutes of the movie when the priest, whose first name is Angel, goes up to one of his colleagues.
Yeah.
and he's giving a bit of a confessional before an altar. And the way that this movie is shot is super subtly clever. So he's given a little bit of a confessional where he's allowed to give a snippet of the exposition. And the exposition, I think, in this movie is done so in your face and so evident. It's not hidden, it's not disguised, it's not cute, it's not lazy. It's this priest literally just telling everybody, I have to be this person and I have to commit these sins. And this is what I'm trying to do. And he sounds like a raving lunatic, but he's a priest. So it's like he's kind of like gets a kind of a pass from people. He curves this sympathy, even though he's running around doing like insane things. But anyways, in this opening, he gives a little confession, and there's a slight camera pan back where another priest just kind of walks across, and the audience is treated to a huge omnibus cross, this crucifix, like an obelisk that has no business being in this altar.
That's true.
And it looks so intimidating. And of course, after he confides in this priest, and he's like, "Will you help me?" The priest says, "Yes, I will." The cross falls and crushes on.
I thought
dude.
that was funny, actually. It
really was funny.
It was funny. Yeah.
It was. And it lets you know, boom, as soon as that hits, and then he hits the streets, like, okay, I'm in for a ride. This is gonna be who? Where's this film gonna take me? And I've always buckled up in for the ride. And it continued with that tone throughout the whole movie. And there's also a nice part in the very intro opening credits. Have you heard that a lot of people will say that Back to the Future is like a textbook, perfectly template film? Have you heard that before?
No, I haven't.
Because in the beginning, they tell you exactly what's going to happen in the movie, and then the movie plays out exactly like it's predicted to do. So every single movie's already been predicated, but you're watching it through new eyes. And the audience is all in for the ride together, and we're through the lens of Marty McFly. So this movie has a bit of trace of that when he's walking through the streets, and there's a woman who's pregnant, and there's a goat standing on top of this ramp, and there's a musician playing, trying to get money for them. And that's the woman at the very end of the movie who's shot underneath the cardboard.
Yeah, so I remember that bit, and I remember seeing it towards the end, and I did like that hook back to it, actually. I did. Yeah, I did like that hook back to that bit. I was hoping that there was actually going to make an appearance in the film. You know what? I probably just didn't like the priest. That's a really odd statement, isn't it? And he starts off being a petty thief. Like that's the way he thinks he's going to hell. Like when he steals the guy's luggage, waiting for the taxi. Then when there's the guy dying after a car accident, and the police let him through, and instead of saying the last rites, I think he tells him, "See you in hell" or "Go to hell" or something like that, and steals his wallet.
Rot in hell.
Yeah. Just little things like that. You know what? Probably put me off a bit was the that gang that kept going through Madrid, killing people. So, for example, the people in the convenience store, I had no real idea why they killed the people in the convenience store. I thought they were killing migrants or people that they thought were dirty in Madrid. But I think two guys running a convenience store didn't feel like people they should kill. So I was a bit confused with that.
Yeah. So on the second rewatch, I considered, are these the Four Horsemen? And they are ushering in the apocalypse.
Right. Yes.
And
subtlety. I missed that.
But they were obviously garbed in 1990s, clothes, and because they were just trying to send a message. Like they were writing messages with graffiti.
They were writing it.
They were performing like really heinous acts of violence. Like everybody was brutally murdered that they came across.
Put on fire.
Yes.
Yeah. But I liked the psychic. Strangely, I really liked the psychic. I like his character. I like how he admits that everything's all bullshit, what he does. And then I like the fact that he actually believes what he's doing is real. The scene where they're climbing out the window, walking along the neon light, just gave me anxiety.
The Schweppes. Yes, it did.
And of course, me looked at the dodgy special effects for that bit. I was looking at the green screening effects and very clear. Now, perhaps it was just the copy of the movie that I watched, but it was very clear that there'd been a lot of post-processing work done on it because every time there was a special effect, the colors were very washed out. And again, this is where my mind creeped when I started to watch the film, going, "Oh, why are the colors all creeped out or washed out for? Why is this happening here?" But I thought it was a clever way it was shot, as well. Then
I loved it when he got shook out the window. That brief instant, and when the mother throws him through the window and he's there kind of dangling, it had like a Darkman, if you've seen that movie.
Oh, a long time ago, yeah.
Kind of like Vertigo, and it's phony, and it doesn't look like crisp, like perfectly, like it doesn't break my immersion because of the way that the whole movie is a bit Keystone Copish. It's kind of, I think perhaps one thing you may not have liked with the priest was he almost appears a bit like Clouseau-ish, kind of like sort of blundery in his demeanor and how he looks, and he's got a very sort of a doughy, kind of doe-eyed face expression about him. Like you can't buy into him just all of a sudden giving into these evil acts.
No, I saw him more as a naive than bumbly, because he clearly says, like, "I've never watched television before." One of the lines that he says in the movie. So yeah, I saw it as kind of like a childish naivety of this priest, and his idea of evil was stealing a wallet. Then progressively getting worse and worse as the movie got on. He realized that what he was doing wasn't really that evil, needed to get worse.
But it's like see, that's part of the charm to it. So like I'm a very faith-lived person. So it's one of those movies that I didn't feel the least bit like, it wasn't taking a rip on any kind of religion. It was just the life of a priest who it was a bit cartoony in a way. And I appreciated all of that stuff. Like I loved it when he walks into the room at the hostel that he gets put up on with the kid's mother, and there's a crucifix just hanging above the bed, and it's just so subtle. He just kind of walks in, he's looking at notes, and he just out of the corner of his eye sees and just flicks it off the wall, and it just gets right back to his plan, what he's going to do. It's just, I felt like there was no kind of wasted movement with the movie, there was. And it wasn't a movie too where it was a gag a minute. Like you were just waiting for here's the next gag that's coming along. Like the gags kind of come out of nowhere. Like the grandfather, how he just
walking around with his penis hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah, he just walks in like full Winnie the Pooh and just sits down at the table, just like unexpectedly. It's fantastic. And he's hiding with the maiden, the virgin maiden, and he turns around and he's on the toilet. It doesn't say a word.
Yeah. And the mother character I I actually did like, because she did make that speech at the start of the film about how if she ever came across someone, she'd shoot him with a shotgun. And then she had that opportunity when she called the police and they were asking for her details. And then she's thinking, oh, this is a waste of time. And she actually went and got her shotgun. At least she stayed true to her character. And look, some of the characters were great. I will admit it. I don't know why the film didn't gel with me. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Okay, so put me where the incantation all of a sudden works. Like when you were watching that.
Yeah, and the goat appears before them. That bit.
Yeah. Did it lose you there?
No. That's when I started paying more attention to it, because I felt like all of his running around and kind of tomfoolery was starting to come into place. But then at the same time, I had a character who was tripping on acid. And then I'm wondering whether it was all a hallucination or it was all just a matter of coincidences. Then again, all three of them did see the goat and only one of them was tripping on the acid. So I suppose there's that element of it too. And then the goat came back at the end. But see, the goat came back at the end, but only the priest saw it. Because when the priest shoots the goat, we actually see that he's shooting one of the, as you would say, one of the four horsemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm just confused.
I agree. On the second rewatch too, that was a part of the movie that I was trying. Like, why did they shoot? If the devil was looking to bring about the Antichrist, why would they assassinate the birth mother? And I was trying to put my head around that, and I thought, okay, my guess is that the devil might be in competition.
But were they trying to stop the Antichrist? So
he wanted to stop because the Antichrist would bring about the end of days.
Yeah, so he was trying to stop.
I think neither the devil nor the priest wanted that.
Very philosophical, this movie. It's far too deep for me.
And it was silly as hell.
Yeah, but that part was okay. I didn't mind some of the silliness. Some of it made sense. Look, maybe I'm too quick to judge it. And I'm really happy to admit that maybe I was too quick to judge it.
You can dislike it. I'm okay with that. I felt it had kind of like a sort of a mix of camp and kind of the horror element was, sparse, but there was some violence and there was certainly a lot of thrilling stuff in there too, and some suspenseful moments. But it had a bit of Evil Dead-ness to it, where I both felt like there were elements where, okay, this is a cartoon. Okay, no, has consequence, and it kept on, and I felt it kept that balance for me, and it kept me on the beam the whole time, and I just enjoyed the ride. So that's my take on it. But I'm glad that someone else finally got their eyeballs on it and got me some opinions, because I for sure know this movie is not for everybody.
And look, and the TMDB rating is very high. A 73% on TMDB is actually extremely high rating. So I do like that. That's a strange message we've just got. I don't know what that means.
Oh, you got a chat?
Yeah, in the chat, there's a very strange message that's popped through. Something about the Antichrist. You can have a look at it if you want.
Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, you will return, defeat the Daja Antichrist. Is this something from Revelations, Kimba? Kimba 94, was he born the year before this movie came out?
Is he the Antichrist? No. Okay, Ned, I'm prepared to concede that I may have missed some of the subtlety in the film. And I'm prepared to concede that it isn't as bad as I initially thought it was. I think I'm going to blame the copy that I watched. I think I need to see a clearer, more high definition copy of it to enjoy it. That's real lame. That's a real lame cop out, isn't it?
Well, the film looks grainy-ish, even when you stream it, and it's on Shudder, so which is my go-to. Shameless. I'll do a shameless Shudder plug every single stream we have.
That's all right. I had a friend of mine who watched the video stream going, does NeddKnight work for Shudder? He's doing a lot of promotions for it. I'm thinking, well, Ned, it could be your calling, to be honest, to get in on Shudder. All right.
You could do a lot of mining there. Yeah, for sure.
So what are you going to give it as a rating?
Okay. Well, I don't have bridge off of yours. I hadn't quite developed my own. So in terms of the ghost rating, it's going to get a 3 for me.
Only a 3?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
A 3 is a good score. A 3 is a good score. Well, I didn't love it. I just thought it was a lot of fun.
Fair enough. Well, look, I'm going to give it a 2 because I don't think it's bad. I just, there are elements that I didn't like that didn't quite gel with me that I was finding myself floating in and out of. I certainly paid a lot more attention once the psychic, believed them. Once it went from these guys are a bit effing nuts to, this could be real. The TV broadcast bit I really loved. I actually really liked that scene. It's very, very reminiscent of how a celebrity would act and how a producer would act. And then, the Christmas scene with the shooting of the Santa Clauses and just opening fire on a crowded place.
The 3
very
wise
European.
Men. It was shooting at the 3 wise men. They were the ones who were giving out the gifts.
Yeah.
They all got it. And there was also, it is what it is. If somebody wants to throw stones in it, they can. I cringe, but there was Balthazar in blackface. I was like, oh,
But look, I'm prepared to concede that I missed elements of it and that I should give it another chance. So I am prepared to concede that. Yeah.
Well, thanks for giving it a fair view.
Thank you for recommending it. And thank you for keep nagging me about it too, because getting a message from you every couple of days asking me how I watched it was a real good prompt. I appreciated that. Do you want to see the trailer I've prepared?
Sure. Before we get to your film, we can do that.
Okay, it is. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm probably going to clip this bit and put it as an actual reaction on the trailer on the channel as a video by itself. So I'll do a slight little intro to say welcome everyone to Shockmania. Let's check out this trailer. It's a trailer for a snake movie. So let's check it out.
坏了，海蛇来报复我们了！老婆抓紧了！部落祭祀供奉的是龙王，每年都会在7月7这一天，选择一名蛇女新娘祭奠龙王。他们抓海蛇有什么目的？
今天老子就是杨王爷，你们来收尸的。
你是不是想家想妈妈了？
海边很危险，有海蛇还会吃人。
我是妈妈，快离开这里！
翼龙王，想要拿钱，就马上把他们给我揪出来！你想报复我了？
Snake Island Survival. That is a very typical Chinese horror snake movie trailer. And so this is what I think it's about. I think it's about, look, I've got a great comment here. In China, even the snake knows Kung Fu. The way it's done. I love that comment, by the way. That is very funny. China makes monster movies in a template. They are all exactly the same. All they do is just change the monster and the scenario. So it's always a creature. There's always a rich businessman who exploits the creature. there's always someone who can protect the creature or who knows a lot about the creature. And there's always a revelation at the end where the rich businessman will get killed and a message will come out about respecting nature, the environment, and making money is not the way forward. Most likely, the heroes in this movie will be poor or villagers. And the businessman will be connections to some kind of Western business. This is the MO of all of these Chinese monster movies. Some of them do it really well, the shark ones. Some of them don't. What do you think of this one? Would you watch it, Ned?
So the trailer is quick. Like these scenes are nanoseconds apart. There's a lot in here. They're really trying to give you a lot of mix of some real snake action, but a heavy dose of CGI. Everything looks like it's in a small set, but
Yes.
I understand it's low budget. It looks like the actors are really into it. This looks like a hoot to watch. It does.
And it will be. I can guarantee it will be a hoot to watch. It'll be 75 minutes and it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be very pacey so that you don't notice any of the plot holes in the film. A lot of it will make no sense. And especially that why is there a little girl in a school uniform out in the middle of a snake island? That doesn't make any sense to me.
It's the Jurassic Park formula. You got to throw kids into dangerous scenarios.
Absolutely. But she doesn't need to be there anyway.
But that's her mother.
Well, I'm actually not sure I've subtitled it correctly because the subtitle said, I'm your mother. But I wasn't sure if the subtitle was referring to the woman talking to the snake or the woman talking to the little girl. So this is where context
that's a win-win.
Subtitling.
Either way is great. My favorite part of the trailer is when you see that little tiny like python snap off when the giant snake pulls it. Like the camera made it a point to show us that it's free from like a 3-inch python. That wouldn't hold my puppy, let alone that gigantic thing.
I'm curious what the scientific experiment being done on the snakes will be in this movie. And I'm curious how this guy is planning to make money off them. And I'm curious how this tribe will save the day. So that is Snake Island Survival. I don't have a release date for it yet. So usually when they release these trailers, it means the movie comes out within a couple of days. So look out for that one. If I find it, Ned, I will let you know. As always, with trailers, use the thumbs up and thumbs down to let us know if you liked it or disliked it. Now, let's go back to the show. And we are going to talk about the film that, stop you. We're going to talk about the film that I recommended to you called Haunted Road from 2014.
Okay. Haunted Road. There are 7 friends and they're on this car trip and they stop. They see an accident on the side of this highway. And oddly enough, there appears to be no other vehicles or people around except that they can clearly see that there is a body in the wreckage. And they choose to ignore it and drive by. And then what proceeds is you quickly learn that the protagonist, and then these names I'm going to have, I could probably use an assist with, but Julian, she has this sort of inner monologue that sort of cooks up there, and you know kind of right away that she is going to be the featured character in this. And each of the other characters, they quickly the film takes no time in letting you know just what their caricature is. There's the girl who I thought was the hottest one there, but apparently she loves to stuff her face with junk food. And I can only think, is this who Mac from House might have been if she was allowed to survive and grow up?
Yep.
So yeah, here she was just like rifling down. She's constantly shoving candy in her mouth. And there's a moment soon in So, well, what happens is these friends continue on their way, and they're on their way to a wedding, I suppose. Um, but that quickly becomes completely irrelevant because they have car troubles, and they found themselves in sort of a way station that's desolate. And the friends basically at first they're nervous and scared how they can get the repairs, and they quickly allow the revelry of, hey, we have the whole place to ourselves. Let's act like a bunch of young, crazy, reckless kids. But there is something there that is stalking them, some mysterious evil entity. And what precedes is kind of a horror by the numbers, ghost stalking the young, hot teenage or young adults. And their worst behaviors always seem to come manifest, and they become, very, they quickly become separate, and they always find ways to be isolated in different scenarios, and they turn on each other at some points in the movie. And I don't know how much you want me to take you to the end, but it has a very Chinese ending. Yeah, has a very Chinese ending.
Yes. And that's the reason that I picked this film for you, because the Chinese movies have, one of three endings. And the ending for this film is the ending that I actually like out of all of them, because it's when it's used well, when it's done well, the rest of the movie I don't feel cheated on. And in fact, that's how I felt when I watched this movie. Now, you might have a completely different opinion, and that's exactly why I gave you this film to watch. But essentially, the ending is that the girl that they pass in the accident is the girl that we follow throughout the whole movie. And what's actually happening is she's dying on the side of the road, and she sees these 6 teenagers pass her by. And now, if I'm struggling to remember the ending, but I don't think they help her. Is that correct?
In the ending, they do help her.
They do help her.
It has a happy ending. Everybody's great.
Right.
And it turns out that they were actually nice and friendly people. They weren't selfish, typical teenagers who just give into selfish desires, who don't believe in love, just believe in sex, who eat junk food, who like to drink and party.
That's right. So she has this hallucination while she's dying that she's friends with these people, and that bad things are going to happen to them. Now, this is done many times in Chinese horror movies. And in fact, one of the other movies that you've seen on my channel that I subtitled, called Bunshin Saba versus Sadako, is exactly the same as this. The whole thing is a dream sequence. And what I like about that is that it can be easily re-edited to remove the bit that says it's a dream sequence, and it can actually turn into a legitimate horror film. What I kind of don't like about this one, and it came back to your point about Day of the Beast, about it being authentic, was that in Bunshin Saba versus Sadako, you can tell the point of the movie where it turns into a dream. And then from that point on, you can trace the movie back and go, that's the point that was a dream. That's the point I will continue on. But this movie's different. This movie doesn't have that plot point in there. It doesn't tell you when the dream sequence starts. It just, you see the accident, then you end up at the servo, we call them service stations, servos, where the whole horror occurs. And I feel a little bit cheated in this movie that you don't get the start sequence that gives you that hint. This movie, what I liked about it was the atmosphere that it actually created. Sometimes when the Chinese get a chance to do a horror movie, they can actually create good atmosphere. It always gets let down by the ending. Now, unfortunate for this movie that it was, its legacy has been destroyed by a part 2 called Haunted Road 2 Haunted Hotel, which was made in Malaysia from a very big Malaysian director. And then the legacy was destroyed even more by a Haunted Road Part 3, which has nothing to do with haunted roads. Somehow the producer of this movie just managed to shoehorn the name in for popularity's sake. But we are just looking at the first one. Now, what you raised an interesting point was that the girl never looks like she's part of the group. And that was that's the vibe I get all throughout the movie. So the main actress is a Korean girl. And you can tell by, if you follow her her mouth very closely, that she's not speaking Chinese at all, that they've redubbed her voice into Chinese.
Oh.
And she always feels very out of place in that group. And it's not until the end where it clicks that she's the chick dying on the side of the road that you realize that she's not their friend to start with. And in fact, I'm struggling to remember many sequences in the movie where she actually interacts with the 6 of them. Does she?
Well, so one of the girls is jealous of her because I guess the jockey type fellow is giving her a lot of attention. And she doesn't like the eyes that he's getting. And there's another boy, like the big guy, he kind of like lets her know that he really likes her. So one guy does like the main girl, and the other guy, he's got his girlfriend. But in terms of, she doesn't get into any of the revelry, and she's completely out of place in the entire movie. And I will say, Dan, it was clear to me that she was the girl in the car from the go.
Really? Okay, you got that. Okay, yep.
And it was one of those things where I'm watching a movie saying, okay, I hope this movie surprises me, and then it takes me somewhere else.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
And that in and of itself wasn't enough for me to judge it poorly.
Okay.
I felt that the movie was like, it played out like the director was used to doing pop star music videos, because all of the scenes were very sharp and crisp and colorful. And it felt like I was watching from one part, either these kids filming a music video or doing a commercial. And it didn't feel like it was, it didn't feel flowy with the movie. I'm like, all right, this guy, he loves giving us some crisp sound effects here. And it just wants to take us to one scene to another.
Yes.
It felt incredibly superficial throughout. The entire movie felt very, very superficial. And it didn't take me in any new roads. And the way that it went through the whole pecking order, and it was more of a slasher movie than it was really a ghost movie. I thought the kills didn't really make sense to me.
They weren't gory at all.
No, but that's fine. And sometimes, like, we've talked about this before, Dan, like your imagination sometimes is better than actually what it shows you. Like some of the kills, you are curious what might be going on and happening. I thought the bag scene where the girl is wrapped up was pretty cool. But I was trying to think, okay, how is this ghost doing this, and why are they killing this person in this way?
Yeah.
And none of that kind of made sense. Like, it wasn't like, it would have been pretty sweet if she found ways to mangle their bodies as if they were in a car wreck.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Nothing really connected. I felt like, okay, someone just threw a plot that says, hey, we're going to have a girl in a car accident, and she's going to, and in the end, it's going to be revealed that she was there.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like, then they wrote it in like a matter of like 10 hours, the script.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. It wouldn't be surprised about that. Now, I actually liked, there's a sequence in the movie I really liked, which is the bit where they walk into the restaurant, and all of a sudden there's people everywhere. All through the restaurant. It's a busy restaurant. And then I think she walks into the back room and then comes back into the restaurant and it's all empty. If I remember
it's
correctly.
the dude. It's the boy. It's the sporty boyfriend who does that. Yeah. He thinks he's found salvation and then jokes on him. But then he gets picked up by that actress right there, Musi Ni, who plays Zhu Ling. And they get in the car, and then he apologized to her for abandoning her. And then she hits somebody. She gets out of the car, and the first thing he does is jump in the car and drive away. Now, the reason, wow, this movie really wants to let you know how despicable and dislikable these characters are, which is another hallmark of movies of my criteria. If I don't care about any of these people, I'm just waiting for it to play out.
Yeah. Now, the reason I'm focusing on her is because she is a kind of scream queen in Chinese horror cinema. She's been in a lot of Chinese horror. She's actually very very good looking actress. And I think she's a
Mm.
model as well. And the last movie that she was in is this film called The Perilous Internet Ring, which I was very tempted to kind of get you to watch because it's from a Japanese director who directed one of the Ring movies and has also directed a lot of other fairly decent Japanese movies. And it was during this time where China was trying to get Japanese and other directors into their cinema to kind of make films. And then, of course, all these poor guys would run into the same restrictions everyone else does, and the movies would end up being terrible. This movie that we're looking at now, The Perilous Internet Ring, has actually been promoted all over South America as a Ring sequel, which is really, really kind of disgusting, cheap way of promoting a film. And it's based on a Chinese internet story, this particular movie. It's actually quite good until the ending of this one. It's about a group of teens who are reading a novel, but each time a new chapter comes out, it's specifically tailored to that person, and that chapter tells that person how they're about to die, and then they get killed in that particular way, which sounds really cool and supernatural until the reveal of the movie is that it's an AI machine creating all of these stories, and that they are using telepathy via the internet to cause the person to go crazy and commit suicide. And so that was the plot. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, you had a really good plot of having a supernatural AI killing people, and then you've destroyed it by making it typical Chinese. And it actually ends with a lecture from the police about internet safety, which is another bit I really hate about Chinese movies, the lectures that are at the end. And I don't believe this.
Chat GPT.
Sorry?
It's anti-chat GPT.
Which is really weird because now look at how Chinese AI has progressed to being what it is. Anyway, let's go back to Haunted Road. I like the film for what it is, but I understand also what it is. And I understand that it is a movie that is a popcorn teen flick, heavily restricted by its environment, that's tried to make the best of what it can do by putting a very good looking cast in place and stopping short of actually doing the attractive bits. So, stopping short of showing the sex scene in the abandoned room. We get
garage.
in the garage. Sorry. Yet we get no nudity or no feeling of there actually being anything that teenagers would do. When they start stealing things, they don't quite make a complete ruckus when they're stealing things. It's, like you said, the girl just takes a couple of snacks and that's about it. So it's restrained in what it can do. And I think if this movie ever got a chance to be remade, someone could make a far better version of it than it.
I think that was a PG-13 sex scene. Like there was, they were
heavy
moving.
petting. Yeah, all it is heavy
They were
petting,
moving.
clothes still on. But the Korean girl, this movie was clearly made so that they could target the Korean market as well. And again, it's at the time, 2014, filmmakers trying to do something different. Now, in 2017, a massive restriction came into Chinese horror cinema that virtually killed off the cinema, the industry completely. The government clamped down on supernatural elements. So that's why there's all these monster movies now, because they can still make monster movies. So I'm going to give it 2 ghosts because I enjoyed it. What about you?
2 ghosts. I thought you might have gotten a little bit higher.
No.
I thought
Chinese
the reason that appealed to you was you're grading this. As I'm watching the movie, I kept on thinking, okay, Dan must be grading this or looking through this with a Chinese movie filter lens. Like, hey, I want to reward the director that's able to actually come through and deliver a decent horror story, given what they're charged to do. So I'm with you there. I respect that, but I'm going to say that the ending of it, good Lord, that was a heavy dose of exposition. Like, oh, she was the girl in the car. Okay. So, yep, I understand that. So I called that. All right. And she was, okay, so she also had trauma about being in the dark. There's her being abandoned by, I guess, her uncle, her father. Oh, there's her eating candy in the convenience store. Okay, so that explains why this. Do I need all this backstory? Oh, so she got in a fight with her boy. She's okay. There's her seeing her boyfriend kissing another girl, so she's distraught. That's why she's in the car. She's having a long conversation. She's leaving him a voice message. Why am I getting all this expository backstory for this girl? I got it. She's the girl in the car. She got in the car accident.
Yeah.
When's this movie gonna end? I'm here.
And look,
you've already ripped off the mask. I don't need to know if she likes gummy bears.
If you're interested in some other Chinese horror movies that do it just as good, or I'm sorry, probably do it better, there are quite a few more. There's a movie called Strange House, which is from a Hong Kong director, Danny Pang, who you might know who did the Eye film. He took his hand on a Chinese horror, and I think he actually knocked it out of the park with his result. There's another one called Horror Floor, which is about a group of people in a apartment building. And there's another one about this couple who go to an abandoned hotel. So there are a couple that are really good, but most of them are pretty crap. And I think this one is in the slightly above average rate. But the next one I'm going to give you, the next movie that I'm going to give you is not a Chinese horror film.
All
so
right,
do you want to know what your next...
Say that for the end? What would you,
yes.
Want to do? You want to review my my?
Did you send me the list?
I can stream it. I don't have it. I mean, I can.
Oh, beautiful. All right, then send it through, and I will get the stream ready for you. While we're waiting for that, thank you, Kimber94, for hanging around for the whole stream. I've loved some of the messages that you've popped up for us as well. You've got an interesting message here that I wouldn't mind looking at while I'm waiting for Ned. You say theater of the mind is good for books, but for movies, I want to see. And I think you're referring to ghost films. Is that correct? And while I'm waiting for your answer, I thank you. Yeah, again, it was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have people hanging around for the ride here. We love it.
I just have one movie to say.
Yep.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's, as far as I recall, there's almost no blood in that entire movie.
Which is odd for the title, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it's considered, I mean, in my estimation, one of the Hall of Fame horror movies of all time. I mean, you can make an argument it's on the Mount Rushmore. It's in my top 20 for sure. I'm not sure where it would rank, but that movie really intimidates you with theater of the mind.
It does. I haven't seen that film in ages, and I think that's part of the. Now, how do I get a? Can I do this? No, I can't do that. Oh, I can do this. Yeah, I think that's part of the charm of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then they've ruined it by doing sequels. So introduce this to me.
Okay, so these are not hidden gems. These are not diamonds in the rough. These are cubic zirconias. These are 3 movies that don't get a lot of love. And I just, in my childhood, as I told you, one of the reasons why I am a big kaiju fan is from watching Creature Double Feature on Channel 56. And I would often be treated to some of these movies. And almost like I would hear back in the days of the dime movies where like my parents or probably the generation just before ours, Dan, would go to the theater and watch like 4 movies in a row for like $1. Like I would sit at home and I'd be treated to the same movies and they'd be strangely unedited. And this, predates cable television. So if I'm watching some Filipino movie and there's a bat creature and all of a sudden he just starts molesting this girl and the top kind of flies off, here I am watching this alone. And as an 8-year-old being like, hey, I don't know if I'm supposed to be seeing that, but it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So what the heck?
I didn't think they showed that on American television. I thought you guys were quite
exactly. No, yeah, we are repressed over here. So
yeah.
So it's kind of funny. These are the kind of things that sort of flew under the radar of of the censors. They're like, "Hey, we're not going to pay attention to this daytime channel stuff. We're just going to put these movie reels on of crap that no adult's going to be watching." But yeah, it was glorious.
The good old times. They certainly were.
So here's some Zirconia 3 horror movies of the early 80s. I got 3 for you. So we'll
you
go
want me to skip to the first
3
one?
No, let's go to number 3. We'll do it. I'll bang it
Right.
out. So, okay, so this movie clearly is everything that came after Jaws, especially when Jaws 2 is coming around, and they came out with Pirata, and they came out with all kinds of like Barracuda and any kind of Orca, which Orca is actually a pretty solid movie. And here we are with Blood Beach, which is perhaps the most ridiculous of all of those types of genre movies. And I just love the tagline with Blood Beach. I think it's just phenomenal. And clearly they know they're riffing off of Jaws. Jaws 2 in particular, which says, "Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water." This one says, "Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water, you can't get to it."
That's great.
But what makes this movie just so self-aware and such a gem is that it stars Burt Young, who played Paulie from Rocky, and John Saxon, who's been in dozens of B movies. He just, he's a guy who every time he's on screen, he's always looking serious, right? He treats every single role seriously, and I just love the guy. But he actually says that line in this movie.
Oh God.
Which, if the actor says the tagline in the movie, it's either amazing or awful. In this case, it's amazing.
So question.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to ask, is it a very typical 80s horror movie where it's nothing, an hour 15, boom, we hit what actually happens in the movie? Or is this actually, are we at the beach for most of it and we're losing people in the sand?
Oh yeah, no, people are dying throughout the movie. And like in different ways. Like someone's like hat, all of us, they're just walking on the boardwalk, and all of a sudden their hat blows on the beach and they go, "Oh, let me go pick up my hat." There's a scene where a guy's trying to rape a girl, and he's on his belly, and a thing comes up and gets his junk.
All right, don't tell me anymore. I want to watch this one.
Okay.
Kimber says that they've made a remake called The Sands.
Is it actually? Oh, it's a remake. That's interesting. Yeah, I think this movie actually was the grandsire of Tremors.
Of what? Sorry,
Tremors.
Oh, Tremors. Oh yeah. There's a lot of Reddit drama about Tremors. Oh, something about the ownership of the movie and who owns it, and someone's trying to get the rights back to it. Anyway, it's a very weird sub community about Tremors, by the way. So Blood Beach, you've sold this to me, and I think I definitely want to watch it. So I'm gonna have to try and find it. Shall we move to number 2?
Please.
Hold on. Oh, there we go.
So I watched, this is The Keep. I watched this with my pop, and this was actually on I think we watched it like 10 o'clock. It came on channel TV 38 WSBK, and I don't know. I have no idea where Kim is from, but some people are going to be able to sort of GPS narrow me down just by my TV stations that I rattle off. So The Keep, if I can sell this on you, and listen, the effects and some of the makeup don't hold up. But the premise is absolutely fantastic. And it's got one quick line. Nazis are forced to turn to a Jewish historian to help in battling the ancient demon they have inadvertently freed from its prison.
I love the 80s.
I'm going to sell it to you, though. It stars Sir Ian McKellen.
Oh, get out.
Scott Glenn, Gabriel Byrne, and the always amazing on point Jürgen Prochnow, who was in Das Boot. He was in lots of other fantastic movies of that nature. He usually plays a bad guy. And he usually plays someone from either Russia or Eastern European. But it's a great movie. I love the crap out of it.
That's a phenomenal cast.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. The Keep. All right. So I'm still Blood Sand is still definitely one I'm drawn to, but this one could be fun. Yeah, this one could be fun, I think. All right. We want to hit to number 1?
Yeah, let's do it.
By the way, Kimber says The Sands was from 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. And now you've sold The Keep on him too, because he wants to watch The Keep as well. So beautiful.
Let's do
You
it,
met another
Kimber.
fan too with this movie. There we go. Tell us about Life Force.
So I'm going to tell you how I came to watch Life Force. So here I was on my bicycle with my buddies going to the video store on a Saturday afternoon, as we would. And then the video store was always either part of or attached to a pizza shop. So we get our subs, and then we go and get our videos. Which, of course, when you picked out videos back in the day, this predates Blockbuster. These were videos on the shelves of some mom and pop shop, and we saw the cover. And we're like, well, this looks right up our alley, because we are huge science fiction nerds. I was probably the only one who liked horror. They really didn't. My other friends didn't care for horror too much. But we said, hey, this looks like some kind of a space adventure. Well, it's about space vampires. And I almost brought it up on our vampire show, but I couldn't. I had to say it for this episode. And so it turns into like the vampire apocalypse in London. Okay.
Kimber knows this one.
Fantastic. Yes, it is. And all that I have to say, I mean, you'll probably recognize a few of the Brits who are in the movie, but this movie is all about Matilda May, because she spends, I think the entirety of the movie buck naked.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I want to see her naked. So that's
We're watching. Listen, no complaints, especially for a kid who brings this movie home. We're thinking we're going to watch this outer space adventure.
Yeah,
and and we're putting this VCR tape on. We're watching it, and all we could think of, is your dad going to come downstairs anytime?
Because he's going to sit there and join you.
I swear we didn't know. But it turned into like a really kind of a fun sort of adventure as this space vampire. And way they get you is they don't bite you. They suck your life force right out of you, and they turn you into a withering skeleton. And it's kind of this horrific effect. So it's almost kind of like Space Vampires meets Return of the Living Dead. And that's kind of what you get with this movie.
Yeah, space vampires. You've definitely sold me on the beach sand one. Actually, before I continue with you, I've actually got a question for Kimber, if he's still there. He says he's watched a lot of these movies. Now, I can't picture your age group. Like you said, Ned, 94. If he's born in 94, that puts him at about 31. But you're saying you're from an Arabian territory. How did you watch these movies? So that's a question I'm asking Kimber in the chat. And while you're typing the answer, I've got another one for you, Ned. Now, you said you'd pick this movie up off the shelf and you've got no idea of the content of it. So you take it home, watch it. Boom, you're surprised there's a fully naked woman on screen. In Australia, our videos have the content advice written on it. So it'll tell you its age rating and it'll tell you the content within the film. So most likely this one would have said, nudity and horror violence all the way throughout. So as a young boy, I would have known, well, I'm going to see tits throughout this whole film. Well, actually, when it said nudity, it meant everything. If it was just boobs, they would never tell you. If it was full Monty, you'd find out. So that sounds like to me that in America, they don't give you warnings about what's actually in the film.
I don't believe so back in the day. I think we'll see that stuff come up on the screen now every time you're viewing something, for sure streaming. I mean, we are like, it is overly sensitized. Like it will give us a warning if there's smoking in the movie.
Oh, that's very Indian cinema.
But okay. For sure this was rated R. And I don't think any I can't think of a single instance that we're not allowed to rent a rated R movie at a video store. You know, if we were old enough to ride our bikes there and we had cash,
Mm.
we were good to go. And
Well,
of
that's
course,
good.
we didn't go to the back section where, you know, the X
Real
movies were.
R-rated ones were. Yeah. So Kimber's answered my question. So it was videotape. You would watch it, and then it probably CD. I'm guessing that's video CD, and now the internet. I like your suggestions, but I think I'm going to want to watch Blood Beach for sure. Going to want to
Awesome.
watch this now. So I need to see this film. I just need to see these effects as well.
I
Now-
want to know what Kimba thinks about The Keep too. If you could watch it, Kimba, come back and after you watch it, put a comment on this video. I'm interested.
All right, and so that's why they don't show their horror movies on TV, and they didn't have a cinema. Beautiful to know. Now, are you going to leave Blood Beach as your recommendation to me, or do you have another recommendation instead?
Oh, I have another recommendation for you.
Okay.
It's a movie that you've already heard from me before in
Okay.
a side conversation we had. But I'm now the movie I've been dying for someone else to watch this because this has a lot of meat on the bone. It is a long movie, so I will preface that piece of it. I think, and we already talked about it, so this is going to come out of nowhere for you. And you know the director, and you kind of gave I know what I'm going to be getting myself into.
It's Tarantino, is it?
Not Tarantino,
Oh,
no.
good.
But it's funny that you should say that. I don't know if Tarantino has done an actual horror movie before, but it is The House That Jack Built.
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember us having this. The House that Jack Built in movies. Let's have a look. The 2019 version. Failed architect, engineer, and vicious murderer Jack narrates details of some of his most elaborate orchestrated crimes. Is it that one?
It is. Yes.
All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, what I've got for you is also a movie that we've talked about in the past.
Okay.
And I'm figuring I'm going to finally make you watch this. And if you can't get it, let me know. It is Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead from Japan. I'm going to make you watch this movie, right? It is from Nobuo Iguchi, one of my favorite Japanese horror directors. It is more of a comedy splatter film. And it is something that if you've got weird, twisted humor, I think you'll enjoy. And then we've got homework from a viewer.
I see that.
Bad Moon 1996. Okay, let's have a look at this one. I don't know this one. Do you know this one?
I've seen it, but a long time ago. So, like
I'm guessing it's a
Kimba,
werewolf movie.
yes. So Kimba said he's a werewolf movie guy, and I said this before. I think I said this in our first stream, maybe. The werewolf is my favorite movie monster by far, but the werewolf movie is my least favorite movie monster movie, which it kills me. Like I don't feel those. I've never felt a werewolf movie really landed with me before. You know that it's always something that happens that's silly. Probably American Werewolf in London has to be the OG and the best werewolf movie to date. I still like the classic Wolfman movie, but I hated how he always bit people in the neck or strangled people. The classic Wolfman.
The only werewolf movie I can think of that I've seen is Dog Soldiers. And is that really a werewolf movie? I think so. Anyway, Bad Moon, good cast. Mario Hemingway and Mr. Michael Paré. Well, I don't mind from every B-grade movie I've ever seen in the 90s. Stars Michael Paré. So and it's short. It's only an hour 20. It's a lot shorter than the movie that you suggested, Ned, but I will watch yours first. I will get into Blood Sand, and I think Bad Moon will make a great trilogy of horror movies to watch over the next couple of weeks, which is when we will get back together again. I think in about 2 weeks to go over our homework and have another discussion. So Kimber, more than welcome to join us in 2 weeks' time. And hopefully we would have watched Bad Moon as well, and we could give a quick synopsis on what we thought of it. But otherwise, Ned, I've had a ball tonight, as always, with you. Anything you'd like to say before we head off for the evening?
Nope. Thanks for having me on. I do have a great time on these. I love just to talk this kind of silly nerd stuff with, especially
Yeah.
particularly about these horror movies, and I love to
Yeah.
do cult classic stuff and under the radar stuff,
Mm.
movies that need more love, right? That's
think
kind
that's
of
what
what we're
we'll do.
looking to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to introduce you to some pretty wacky, wild shit as well, which is why if you can watch Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead and not, if you can watch it and not laugh, you are not the man.
I can't. No, I mean, no, I won't be able to get through the title. It's
Fabulous. I love it.
It's impossible.
All right.
I will watch it. I tell you what, I will let you know. So should I hit it with like the utmost seriousness and just see if I can just get through it without cracking up, or?
Oh, you won't last. No, as soon as you hear the plot, you'll just be like, oh, that you'll piss yourself laughing. And then once things start happening, like, do you laugh at fart jokes?
Rarely.
Ooh,
It depends
okay.
if they're like, depends. Sometimes they can be sneaky funny. Farts can be
Right.
sneaky funny for sure. Like the
All
burp in Elf is the funniest burp in all movie.
Whereas, see, I am in stitches in Blazing Saddles with the baked bean scene. Like I can't get through that without being red faced.
It's a classic. Is
each
it
to their
Michael
own.
Landau? Michael Landau was the director of American Werewolf in London, right?
I'm not a werewolf fan. I believe that's a Kimber question, and Kimber's correct.
he
Zombie
says-
under a toilet. That'll give you a bit of a hint about what you can expect in Zombie Ass Toilet of the
John
Dead.
Landis. John Landis. So
John Landis,
Kimber
okay.
met John Landis' son. R.I.P. John Landis. Why did I say Michael Landau? I meant Landis. Oh, that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope, Kimba. Yeah. So Kimba, I definitely thanks for hanging around. I hope we get to see you next time when we stream.
Yeah, appreciate that so much, and appreciate to anyone else who watches this video after our live stream. I am the Arty Dan. That guy to my that way is Mr. NeddKnight, and we will catch you very shortly. This is the awkward part where I end the stream, but the video doesn't quite end at the same time. See you all later.